It's Baby and Mary, we know you have been waiting, so here's another podcast about movies. Burn after watching.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Burn After Watching podcast.
Hi.
Hello, Mary. Today, we are talking, obviously, about Dune Part 2. Woo! This is the Dune episode.
Yes.
Dune-isode. Dune-episode. That doesn't work. And we're going to talk about Dune Part 1. We're going to talk about Dune Part 2. We're going to talk about Dune 1984 by David Lynch, which we saw for the first time.
Painfully went through it for you guys.
But before we go into the pain of watching that film, subscribe.
Please.
Welcome if you are new. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us, like, comment, share.
Yes, thank you so much.
Let's get started.
Yes.
By the way, we're going to talk about all the Dune film, and we're going to talk about it at length. So we're going to spoil. If you don't want to hear about plot point or things that happen in any of this film, just wait till you've seen them. Thank you. First of all, I want to preface that the first attempt at putting Dune into a film was in 1974. Jodorowsky, the director of The Holy Mountain, bought the right to make a Dune film. That was the first attempt. And he even said that Hollywood just believed that it was impossible to adapt Dune. So they just sold him the right for very cheap. And he's the first person that attempted to put everything together.
Did that ever release?
No. So
Okay.
he never, he was missing $5 million. In the 70s, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he never was, like, no studio believed in it. He was a pretty eccentric guy, though. Salvador Dali was supposed to be the emperor. His own son was supposed to be Paul. Mick Jagger was supposed to be basically who Austin Butler played.
The bad guy.
And there's a whole documentary that released in 2013 that goes over the attempt. One of the cool things he did is that he went to get a lot of, like, the very, very famous special effect people of the time, even discover H.R. Geiger, the guy that designed aliens in the movie Alien. Basically, he never got the money, so he just moved on, didn't do the film at all.
Did Salvador Dali accept?
So
the
Salvador
offer?
Dali, yeah, so it took him like 4 or 5 times to get him to say yes. Salvador Dali was saying, like, basically told him,
being an asshole.
I want to be the most paid actor of all time. I want to get paid $100,000 per hour of work, which was like
Back in the
1970s. Just
yeah.
crazy. But they realized after the fact that they would only need him for about 5 or 6 minutes of the film. So they said, you know what? We're going to pay you $100,000 per minute that we use in the film. So it would have been about $500,000.
That we saw him on screen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Orson Welles, who's, was a very famous director already back then, had kind of didn't want to do a movie anymore. He was just in Paris eating in a restaurant all the time.
That's a great story.
He bought him a bottle of wine to get invited to his table. Get invited. He said, I want you to be the bad guy in my film. He said, no, I'm not interested. He said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hire the chef from the restaurant here, and the chef will cook meal for you every single day that you're on the shoot for my movie. And he said, yes, I'll do it.
So smart.
Like,
so smart.
Very ingenious.
But I can understand, though, that Hollywood didn't believe in adapting the books, because we're going to talk about this, but even now, it's such a complex story, just reading the books. So adapting it in a movie is a masterpiece.
It was kind of crazy. Like, he had all those big names, but people were so worried about him because he was kind of a crazy director. He gave up on it, and then he heard that David Lynch was doing his version.
Which we watched.
Yes, and he went to see the David Lynch version. He said, thank God, this is a terrible film.
Well, it is.
Let's talk about it.
It is, yes. We saw it after Dune Part 2.
Yes, first time we watched it.
1984. I can't believe Sting plays in this movie.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
And so the David Lynch 1984 attempt at Dune cover basically everything that Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2 didn't even do in 2 films. He does in 1 film, and it's a 2-hour film.
It's
and
a lot.
It feels, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's rushed. The story is rushed through.
The first hour to me was better than the last hour.
Yep, I agree with you.
It felt like, okay, and I think you point out something. I think it does a good job at introducing a lot of the more complex.
Yes, it explains a little bit more.
Everything, basically,
yes.
to you.
but too much in the same way.
Yeah, it just straight up tell you, here's the plot
Yeah.
of the film, and here's everything that's happening.
Yeah. I felt like laughing most
Oh,
of the
yeah.
time because first of all, the acting
It's
is very
real silly.
comedic.
Yeah.
It's real silly. It's real bad.
The effects are terrible,
Yeah.
even for the time.
Oh my god, yes.
This released after Star Wars.
It's so bad.
Yeah, especially the shield. The block Lego shield battle. And it's so... There's two
Yeah.
people fighting and they have this protective shield, but like it's just a mongrel of shape.
Oh my god.
Like
It's really
translucent
bad.
shape. It's like you can't even understand what's happening.
Yeah. So yeah, all the visual effects.
Yeah.
The first time also we see the bad guy who is kind of eating one of the guy who's
Eating one of
working
her
for
servant
him.
or something.
It's so silly.
And like
and like the
he looks
orange
like he has
hair.
a skin disease, not
Yes,
like
yeah. Anyways, that's really funny to me. He doesn't look like a bad guy at
and
all.
the sets.
Oh yeah,
So
it looks
cheap.
like a
theater play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's really the green set of like the villain.
Yeah.
It's really like, oh no. It looks like cheap. It's like, oh
Yes.
my god.
Yeah.
This looks something you do in a weekend.
The acting and the visual effects. And the first time, remember the first time we saw the worm?
Yeah. That was not too bad.
Yeah, it was like okay, like the shots
I don't mind
in the
the worm.
desert and
Yeah.
the worm were not that bad.
I
was
felt like they did a
okay.
good job for like considering.
Except that moment where he rides the worm.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
It's like
so
he's
silly.
emotionless.
And
he's
he
like,
climbed the worm in like 1 second. He's like, boop, okay, I'm on top now.
yeah. And it's funny because in Dune Part 2, the worm is like full speed. Like, I don't know.
It's an
like,
action scene.
Yeah.
It's
It's like
crazy.
150 miles per hour. And he's literally on the worm. And it looks like it's going 10 kilometers an hour.
No emotion, just kind of like, yep, I did it.
And then everybody goes on the worm with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like his
They just
buddy
catch up
and
to the worm and just climb on it like so easily.
Thank God we ordered ice cream that evening during the movie.
Yeah, we were just like, we needed something to like keep us,
Oh my God.
distracted.
But we have to talk about the pug in the movie.
Yeah, it's so weird that they're just carrying pugs around. It feels so out
There's
of
one
place.
pug, but it's cute and it's funny.
There's
but
more at the beginning. I think
Oh,
you
yeah?
missed it. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was.
There's a
having
guard
little
carrying
nap.
like 7 pugs.
I like that. I love
But
pugs.
it's just so silly. It feels
Yeah.
out of place. It's just like, it doesn't feel like I'm on a, in space. In David Lynch, Paul's daughter is already born and she's
Yeah.
doing stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Versus in Dunes by Denis Villeneuve, most of the time she's still talking through, like, while she's still
pregnant.
in the belly of the mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually like that. It's interesting that she can communicate while she's through the mother, basically. That's kind of a cool way to approach
Yeah.
her being still an important kind of force in the film versus having her born. In David Lynch, it's so silly when the actress was like 6 tried to deliver the line with the villain, remember?
Yeah. Oh my God.
You can tell she's not even focused on, she's
Yeah.
kind of like looking away at some point, like bored.
Yeah. It was really bad. I mean, let's be honest. We watched it because first we were curious.
Yeah, I wanted to
And
watch
we
it.
wanted to talk about it, but I could live my life without having seen this movie, and it's really terrible. I would burn it for sure.
I think there's something attractive about it though, in the sense that
Yes, I understand.
it's one of those bad films that are so bad it's good. I
No,
think.
I don't
I
think
feel
so.
like there's something to me where like I think about it still today, and like I'm like, that was funny. Like it, and I do think that for a 2-hour film, I think you disagree with that, but for me, it went by really fast. Everything that happened in the 3 hours of Dune Part 2 by Denis Villeneuve happened in 1 hour.
But
and
it's-
it is rush.
But it's almost too fast.
Oh, no, it is too fast.
know?
It is rush. Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
But it happens so fast. Things that, and once you've seen Dune Part 2, watching this, you're like, oh, you recognize those moments
Yeah.
from the other film,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
most likely from the books if you read the book. And you can kind of tell, like, oh, wow, like, we are moving very fast through the story. And, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, the character don't have time to grow. There's no arc. Like, people fall in love, and 1 minute later in the film, they,
Yeah.
like, almost married. Like, it's just silly how fast it is. But it made the film go by, like, to me, like, an hour and a half instead of 2 hours.
I think not the only thing that's interesting, but to me is more that he tried. You know, the fact that he's
Yeah.
the first one. Like, I like
Well, second
David.
one.
Yeah, but that released something.
Yeah.
I like David Lynch. I don't like all his movies, but he's an interesting director. So I have to like highlight the fact that he actually tried to do it.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, it was not good.
No, it was not good.
Trying is nice. It's better than not trying. But at the same time, you didn't do a good film. You remember like the bad guy that there's just a cow and he just ripped the ears of the cow and started eating it? There's a lot of choice like this. It's like, but why though? Why did you make that choice as a director to say like, let's do that?
Even the cat that's like kind of stuck in the
machine.
cage. I'm like, this could never happen like nowadays with all the animal rights and everything. But
Well, it
yes,
would be a fake one, yeah.
to me though, it really, really looked like it's not a movie from the 80s. It looks like a movie from the 50s.
The explosion at the end on the worm, like they look like they were not eating like even hitting the worm. They were just exploding in the middle of anywhere. There was a lot of like just bad stuff, and everything is obviously very rush. I think the ending.
We have to talk about the ending, like the.
Oh my god! Yeah, the credits. The credits have this like soap opera
like
TV show from the 80s where you have like each actor standing to the camera like still, and then their name appear on the side.
Oh my god, it's so cheesy.
Well, let's do one, okay? That was another weird decision that, you know, it's not like film we're all doing that in the 80s. It just feels out of place, weirdly out of place. The dream or like vision sequences, even in Dune Part 2, to be honest, they come often, and at some point it's like, okay, like I get the prophecy he sees. What's interesting, I guess, in Dune Part 2 is that he sees things, but he doesn't see them correctly. So often he's going to see something, and sometime he see himself do an action, and later in the film it's gonna happen, but he's not the one actually doing the action. In this film, all the vision are, first of all, the number of time that this water drop in slow motion, like the shot, they used it probably 15, 16 times.
Yeah.
And like also like just him saying Dune, sand, spice. When he's dreaming, like he's dreaming, and it looks so bad. He's just eyes closed, like spice.
That's true.
The Freeman.
And even when he's talking to himself,
yeah,
and you kind of hear
his
thoughts out
everyone.
loud. Yeah, everyone, and it's so weird.
It's because they want to move they need to move the story. So he's like, okay, we're gonna have to. There's narration for almost everyone. It's like she knows, or like, I can't believe he didn't see this. Yeah. It's like, oh, we need to explain what's happening, so let's just read their mind and say things. Everything's out loud. Everything
that
every
was,
time.
Yeah, throughout the whole movie.
It's like so annoying.
Yeah.
It's like leave a little bit of suspense.
Yeah.
What would you score it out of 5?
I would score it a 2.
I think it's a 1.5 for me. Awesome. Let's go into
Dune Part 1.
Dune Part 1, 2021, Denis Villeneuve. The first or the second attempt to like bring this back. This actually released kind of like slightly post-COVID, so
it was in it.
Yeah, that's the first film I saw in theater.
But it was during the pandemic.
Yeah,
it wasn't over.
I remember like we had to wear a mask, and I went to see it in theater, and wow, I think I was very impressed. Similar to Batman Begin, it's like I like the universe, I like the film. It's a good film, but to me, I was like, it feels like this is a great setup for a future film to be like amazing. Like similar to how Batman Begin, like I love everything we're doing here, but The Dark Knight is like the payoff.
I had never seen it.
Yes.
So I watched it the first time with you last year. I'm not a big fan of sci-fi.
Me too.
I had heard of it, and I had heard amazing things, and I really, really like Denis Villeneuve's work. So I wasn't really looking forward to see it, but you really liked it, and you said, listen, Mary, there's going to be a part 2. You should listen to it. And my first impression is I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
I found the story quite complex to understand.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, it's not that complex. Like the baseline with the spice is easy to understand. Maybe it's just the Fremen and then the other planets and who's who and the Reverend Mother, and
there's a lot of detail and a lot of texture. Like if it feels real because everything has a backstory, everything has a lot of information.
One thing that I really liked about the first part is when he gets accepted not accepted yet, but he fights with one of the Fremen to kind of integrate their group.
To gain access, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. What's his name again? Paul, the actor?
Timothée Chalamet.
I wasn't really a fan of him, but I really liked him in Dune Part 1. And then afterwards, we saw Willy Wonka before Dune Part 2. And I was like, oh gosh, I hope I can forget all the singing about it.
Really?
But I really like him. He's really good.
And I think Timothée Chalamet is one of those that, like, especially in Dune, he's a little bit bland. I think his character is very subdued.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a lot of big emotion.
Well, especially in the Part 1, because he's he's trying to understand who he is, what's happening to him, and the whole part with the witch when he puts his hand. So, oh my God. In the 1984 when he puts his hand in it and it kind of burns, and oh boy. Anyway.
We see like the inside, yeah. The one thing that I think for the first one, I felt like the music was repetitive. The whole like they were using it like a lot, and it's powerful and it's very specific, and it's a good song or a theme song, but they used it a lot, and I was like, okay, it feels like we could have a little bit more, and I'm so happy because Part 2,
oh boy,
the music is amazing. It's insane,
so powerful.
Hans Zimmer.
I'm so glad we saw it at IMAX.
It was like, and they used a theme from the first one, but only I think once or twice.
Yeah.
And it felt like the music just expanded and became a lot richer. It felt like the theme between like all the different races were like more and more defined. Part 1 is great. Like I think the visual effects are very well done, very grounded. You get a little bit of the worms, you get a little bit of the war.
The bad guys in Part 1 are like a good villain, like good bad guys. But in Part 2, it is another story.
So in the first one, the Baron, the big guy that floats, is kind of like the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have one of his nephew, played by Batista. But I think like the addition of the other nephew, Austin Butler, really made it interesting because there was now a power dynamic between the family as well.
Yeah.
And I think that added a lot of depth into like each villain. I really felt like it was expanding in a very nice way. The first one, the villains work very well. The Baron is menacing, him like batting the black glue and everything. Like it's really cool. But I think what you see more and more also, because you get to go to their planet a lot more, is the aesthetic.
And the whole... Okay, we're still talking about Part 1. It's really hard to not talk about Part 2.
Let's kind of transition with this one question, because we've heard this multiple times, and actually Denis Villeneuve said this himself. Yeah. He said, I don't believe you need to see Part 1 to go see Part 2. And I understand that obviously he's trying to get people to go see Part 2 because he wants to be able to make Part 3. Right. And people should go see it because it's an amazing film. Yep. But do you believe that not seeing Part 1, you would feel the same about Part 2, or like you would enjoy it enough for you to be like, nice, now I want to go see Part 1? Yes. Yeah?
Yeah. At first, I would have maybe said no. But now that I think back, I don't remember every detail of Part 1. And Part 2 to me was so amazing. So amazing. Visually, the costumes, the music. I really, really enjoyed it. Maybe someone needs to read a little bit about the story just to get like the bottom line.
Yeah, who's and stuff.
Exactly. But yeah, I would say yes.
I think because it's a long film, you get a lot of time to learn the character again. Yeah. So I think that's good for someone that is just jumping in.
And you can always go back, because I really do think that Dune Part 2 needs to be seen in the theater.
It's a difference maker.
It's really a difference maker.
Because I can understand. I saw Dune Part 1 in theater, and I saw it multiple times on a TV, and it's just not the same, obviously.
Yeah, it's really...
And I'm curious about how Dune Part 2 will feel, on TV. But I'm going to agree with you. I don't think you need to see it, but if you can,
I think it's better.
Definitely go watch the first one. I wouldn't say do not go see it if you haven't seen one. I think you will still get great enjoyment if you like just amazing visual, amazing music, and you'll get the gist of what's happening enough to like have a good time.
I agree with you.
It's a big save for me.
Oh, me too.
It was, I think it was not my favorite movie of 2021, I think, though.
No?
I don't think so.
What was it?
It was
The Green Knight?
So for me, it was The Green Knight, then Dune
Mm.
in 2021.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's definitely a big save as well.
Big save.
And I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Yeah.
Solid film. And let's just go into
Part 2.
Dune Part 2, which I want to say it was my most anticipated film of 2024. Like there's Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, because he made my favorite movie of all time. Of course, I'm excited, but I'm not a big vampire Nosferatu guy. I'm excited to see it still, but it's not like I'm
curious.
attracted. Yeah, I'm curious. I want to see it, and I'm going to be there first weekend. But it's not like I'm as attracted to that story than I was about Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
And remember when we had a discussion about how Oppenheimer felt like an event, and it felt like it's been a while?
Yeah.
Dune Part 2 felt like an event.
I agree.
Like we were even talking about, it's really rare that you, like my dad and your mom know about Dune Part 2, and it's like, yeah, we're thinking about going, right? It doesn't mean that they're just going to rush to the theater, but the fact that people, like everyday people, because we have a podcast about film, we are
Obviously, we love movies.
we are into the movie kind of scene.
We know everything that's going to release.
We consume,
Yeah. Like my mom, she doesn't know everything that's going to release. Yeah.
So for us, it feels like Dune Part 2, everyone's talking about it. It's like everywhere. But like the reality is that it's not like that for people outside of...
But even when we went on Friday evening to the avant-premiere at IMAX, you could feel the energy. Like people were so excited for that movie. I wish there was... we're still looking for that popcorn warm
That's another thing
bucket.
I wanted to say.
That's cool.
The Barbenheimer phenomenon kind of... Not to the same extent, but the popcorn bucket did a lot.
Yeah.
It became a meme, and there's a lot of meme on Dune as well. And I think obviously that's part of like movie culture now. Like you can't, social media is a part of it. And I think also the premiere red carpet they done, like the fashion, Zendaya doing like crazy stuff. Like I think that helped.
Costume, like the metallic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like they did a lot of cool stuff to like promote and talk about it. The fact that Anya Taylor-Joy was a surprise role, even if there's other film like Joker that we are excited to, I don't feel like it's gonna be an event. It's gonna be a highly anticipated, and we're gonna be excited to see it. But there's something about Dune that it's like there's an energy.
Yes, and also. One thing that I was really looking forward to are all the new actors in the movie, especially that plays in No Country for Old Men. Yeah, I really, really like him. And he has an important role in the movie. And there are many new faces in the movie, which I was,
and everyone
looking
deliver.
forward to. I guess there's no good way to start this, but I'm going to start with Rebecca. His mom playing the Reverend Mother. Her psychological transformation.
The character arc.
Oh my God.
It's one of the best one of the film.
Yes.
She's almost the main character.
Yeah.
She drives most of the story.
Yep.
She's very important. Obviously, like Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet are like a huge chunk of the film.
Yeah. And you wouldn't say like she's a villain, like... like Austin Butler, but she is though. First time she appears on screen with her hoodie and her tattoos in the face.
It's really cool.
You can tell like there's something wrong.
Yeah. And the like we talked about, like the fact that the Reverend Mothers are controlling everything and making plan to like make sure that they have people they can control in the right spot at the right time. And she kind of break out from that by having a son instead of a daughter.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, she still has a daughter, but after. Yeah.
But then... And she tried to protect Paul from them. And she becomes what she's trying to protect Paul from by kind of guiding him to do what she wants him to do. Drink the water of life. Become the Messiah. Even though he believed that it's probably the wrong thing to do.
Right. And I loved her in that character. She's real good.
Really like powerful, like working in the shadow, kind of like pulling the string.
Yes.
And it makes kind of like the jump back and forth between the more action piece of Timothy and her, and like the kind of work she's doing to like make Paul a legend, a messiah.
Right.
Very powerful when everything comes together.
Yes. I really, really liked her.
I wanted to talk about the beginning because first of all, we start into the desert. Deep orange sunset, basically like soldier kind of try to find Freeman's, and it's real quiet, kind of like synth music playing, and at some point they use their anti-gravity kind of machine, and they start floating, and then the music kick in. It's like synth heaven, and goosebump right away,
So
because
powerful.
it was, everything came together so quickly. Like within 5 minutes I was like, oh my god, like they just start flying, the music kick in,
Yeah.
it's deep oranges, it's so cool. I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, I'm gonna fucking love this. That was
Yeah.
insane.
I agree with you.
Wow.
And what you're talking about, like the goosebumps, I felt that way so many times in the movie. I don't even know where to start because
Let's just go wherever we want.
I have to talk about the music, the soundtrack. So powerful, so well done. Amazing.
A lot of really cool like synth bass music, very tribal as well, sometimes very dry and eerie.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Hans Zimmer did an amazing job. The first one was great. This is it. This is the type of album you'll listen to without watching the film. Like, not a lot of soundtrack of film. It's like you could just listen to it and it's so good.
I agree.
That's one of them.
I have to mention as well the fashion.
Woo.
It's almost
It's high fashion.
It's it's high fashion. The dresses, the headwear, the chains in the face, like every single dress and hat reminds me of like Rick Owen meets
Paco Rabanne.
amazing.
And it's so well defined. Like the Arconan have this, like you said, gothic leather chains.
Love it.
Really like specific style
Black.
that works so well. And I love that because they are under a black sun, their planet is under a black sun. When they go outside, everything goes black and white, and it explained a lot of like why their skin is so pale,
Yeah.
and it built into like the culture and the aesthetic of the Arconan in a really cool way.
Yeah.
And the fashion is like gothic, but like weird, a bit like
Latex,
sex dungeon.
sexy, yeah,
It's really cool.
Yeah,
And
even the Fremen
yeah.
is like all earth colors and sand, linen and cotton.
Things you would wear
In
the
the
desert.
desert. Yeah, really cool aesthetic. And then there's all the women, the Reverend Mother,
Yeah.
and also Florence
Pugh,
yeah, she has like a metallic dress
because
with
they're
a
very rich. They're like, she's the son of the emperor.
yeah, with a headpiece, very Paco Rabanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just like nice looking costume and props for the sake of it.
No.
Really built the culture and the
Oh, yeah.
history. It give you like visual cues about who people
Yep.
are, where they're from, their level in the society of Dune. And I think that's great. When
Oh,
you
I
don't have to
agree.
explain things like the David Lynch one and say everything. It's like, you can visually understand who's
Yep.
why they're the way they are, and like what the character, like it's just one more piece of the character. Also for those actors, it must be very helpful to like help them support their performance with like tangible things
Oh,
that
yeah,
like
totally.
built in their look. Like Austin Butler,
Let's talk about him.
Feorata, who's like becomes the main villains of the film kind of like halfway through, I would say. Peck to replace his brother, played by Dave Bautista, who's kind of failing at protecting the spice harvesting. And I love that his uncle is putting kind of this gladiator arena, prove me that you are capable of doing this. Prove me by killing the last, who they believe are the last people of the House of Atreides. Here's your chance to prove me that you want it enough, that you want the power and you're able to like take it. Austin Butler, I like him. He's a little bit blank for me. So far he was. First of all, I think it's one of the best villain since maybe the Joker and No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Like in the last maybe 15, 20 years, like the remarkable villains that you still remember,
Yeah.
I think he's one of them.
Yeah, he was amazing. I really, really loved his performance. He's fucking crazy, psycho.
But he's also charming and sexy in a
yeah,
way.
yeah.
And I think you need that to have like a character that it's like redeemable a little bit, right? You don't want it to
He's
just
kind of
be
like-
psychotic for no reason.
No. He's kind of fascinating in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when he's fighting Paul and he realized that Zendaya and Paul have a thing, he's like, oh, is that your pet? What should I do? You know, like, is there special instruction with your pet?
Yeah,
And he's
yeah,
kind of like playful in a like terrifying way.
Yeah. Totally.
It's
totally
crazy.
Agree. Yeah.
I think it's my favorite performance of the entire film. Like, I was
Yeah.
floored how much I love him in that role.
Let's talk about Paul's performance.
Yeah.
Did you?
Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
Probably one of his strongest one. We haven't seen every of his film, but I think when you watch the first one, like we said, he feels a bit subdued, a bit neutral. He did a good job. I do think it could have been even better.
I agree.
I think some other actor could have like really pushed it the next level, but it's not anything where it's taking away from the film at all. It's very good.
And probably his own character that he's playing. He doesn't like, he's building self-confidence and which side he's on and everything he's going through with his own mother, realizing that now she's kind of not there for him anymore. And obviously he's a little bit outshined by his own mother.
Zendaya.
No, Austin Butler. Yeah. To me, Zendaya, I didn't love her performance in Dune Part 2.
I really liked... So
she was okay.
A big theme of the second one is belief. It's this idea that Paul at first doesn't believe is the Messiah. But there's also a split between the group. You have the more old school Fremen that believe into the Messiah, the idea... And Javi Bardem kind of represent them.
Yep.
He's kind of like the face of that belief. And no matter what happened, like even if
always
Paul
has
says,
a reason.
"Oh, I'm not the Messiah," and then he'll be like, "The Messiah is so humble
that he wouldn't
say that he'd be the Messiah, and that's why he's the Messiah."
Yeah,
and
that's kind of funny. Every time
Javi Bardem has a lot of funny bits. It's fun that they let him kind of like be a bit playful.
Yeah.
And then Zendaya and other younger Fremen represent this idea that like, waiting for a prophecy or waiting for someone to come save us, make us...
will enslave you.
Yeah, because we should be the people like giving ourselves the freedom.
Yeah.
If we keep waiting instead of doing something, it might just never happen.
Right.
Instead of just taking the power and doing it ourselves.
Yeah. And it says a lot about their relationship as well, because they're in love, right? But when Paul drinks the water of life, she comes to save him. Yeah, she realizes that she can't love him because now he's acting like he said he would not.
One thing I felt was a bit silly was the baby worms.
I like that. I really like that.
I didn't mind it
because
in the story.
Because it showed where the water of life came from.
But I think visually.
Okay.
Like visually, when they like grab it and it's like, you know, it to me, I was like, all right, like this looked like fake.
Okay.
I didn't buy it. I turned to you in the theater and you were not laughing. It just kind of looked a bit silly to me.
To me, it was okay.
It looked like fake. You
Okay.
didn't think it looked fake? I don't know how they would have been able to do it anyway.
Let's talk about when Paul rides the worm.
Woo!
Woohoo!
Like one of the, again,
great scenes.
Goosebumps, great scenes, like powerful.
Yeah.
It felt difficult. It felt like I was worried about him.
Oh, me too.
And I think that's great. Like that just means that they did it very well.
The only thing I thought though was it seems like he's going far because he's on the worm and it's going fast, and then you kind of see him and all the people are still there. So I'm like, oh, did it like turn around or whatever?
I don't know if he's able to also like control him by pulling, or he's just simply riding.
Because to me, the worm is going in a straight line. There's like no turns or whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, I assume he kind of move around, but like even when they go to the deep south, how'd they know that the worm's gonna get there?
Well, that's another thing about the worm. It's kind of, you have to accept
like
that.
Bus.
Yeah, you just get on it and assume that it's going in the right direction.
But they go to the deep south. There's like 3 of them, and apparently they just all agree to go in the same direction. If they can control, but it's really cool when they have that little basket for the mom.
Yeah, I love
like
it,
a little like first class cabin.
Yeah.
And that shot that comes into the window, it's really cool.
Yeah, I like it too.
It's really funny though.
But I kind of thought to myself, oh, okay, and that means like the worms like wouldn't eat each other. They're kind of friends and they're going in the same direction.
I guess so. Yeah. One thing that I really love is the attack on the space harvester. Yeah. With the bazooka kind of thing. And the legs of the machine moving and them protecting themselves.
Yeah.
And I love that the Freeman kind of comes out of the sand to attack.
Yes.
It was really cool. Like
it
really
was
well done.
Because you only see the little straw for them to breathe. Yeah, that was really cool. And it's the first time as well as Zendaya
Yeah.
realizes Paul's fighting skills.
Yeah.
So that's really cool as well, because it's kind of the first time after that battle that they really accept him, and he can choose his name and everything. That was cool.
He has so many names.
I know.
It does get confusing a bit.
A little bit.
One thing I didn't love, and I assume it's in the book, so I'm not saying that it's, it doesn't have its place, but the nukes felt like don't belong in the universe. I know they have machine that can, they have vessel, so obviously they can create nukes if they want to, but it felt almost too real, like too planet Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
And like they were just hiding in a mountain. It was like, really? They were just hiding in a mountain and nobody found them. But a lot of like really cool, and like
the three worms.
The three worms was so freaking cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you were so excited for that.
Jaw
scene.
just opened like.
It was
for
like
entire
the first time we saw Jaws on TV.
Yeah, it's
Like,
similar.
Yeah.
It's rare that
so
like
menacing. I was
that
like,
CGI creature can make you feel like whoa, because it's you've seen so much now.
Yeah.
Like they done everything. Someone being able to do something that is impressive. It comes with like how it's shot, how it's composed, and everything. But it was really powerful. There was a few moments that I had my jaw open, just like.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking through the movie while I was listening to it, because as a stylist, I was thinking to myself, there must be so much sand
Everywhere.
Cameras? Even like yes,
Holy
exactly.
shit.
I was like, this must have been
A nightmare.
no, but even like a real struggle
Oh yeah.
to deal with.
Okay, I have a question. If you
Yes.
could pick which house you would be part of,
Oh,
purely based on the way you would be able to dress
yeah.
and like look, which house would you go for? Like the Emperors, the Arcanine, the Freeman, or the Atreides, which is like Paul's?
It would probably be between the Gothic and the Emperor.
What about the Reverend Mothers with all the big hats?
Also. Oh, so hard.
I think I would go Arcanine because
I
it's so
knew it.
freaking Balenciaga.
But yes, I knew it.
It's so freaking cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy wearing it because it's probably uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. I would.
The Freeman is too much work. All the stuff.
I would be
and-
part of the Reverend Mother.
Here's a little game. If Dune Part 2 came out in 2023, where would it be in your top 5?
So in first position, Poor Things, then May December, Monster, Anatomy of a Fall, and Oppenheimer. So I would remove Anatomy of a Fall. I would put May December in 4th position and Dune in 2nd position.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
for me, so
You?
right now my top 5 is Holdovers, number 1, Monster 2, Oppenheimer, Zone of Interest, and Perfect Days. I think it would have to go number 1.
Boom.
If it came out last year, I would have preferred it over Holdovers. So I would have moved everything down. So Perfect Days would have been removed from number 5. Wow.
I was even telling you this week that we should go see it
Again.
again
Oh, yeah.
in theater, because
You don't get the chance.
Exactly. And I feel that there's things that maybe I missed out on.
Oh, yeah.
That I didn't, like, I was too busy watching like either the fashion, listening to the music, and I feel that I could see it again and see other things.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I can say.
I want to see it again.
And it's cool too, because Denis Villeneuve is from Quebec.
Yeah, from our city.
From our city. So it's I mean,
It's impressive.
He's amazing. I would definitely save
Huge
Dune
shade.
Part 2, and I would give it a 4.5.
It's a 4.5 for me too. And I think it could go up to 5 if I watch it again.
Yeah.
It
It
was an
was
event.
amazing. And we're going to go back.
Thank you so much for joining. As always, please subscribe. Find us everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We are there. We are making funny memes. We are making reels.
And plus, you started doing videos on your own.
Yes, I
That
just
I really
released my physical media
media
collection.
collection.
And by the way, the Dune Part 2 Steelbook with the big worm
Oh my God.
is already available for pre-order. So it's coming. But if you want to know what I already have, what we have, our collection, check out the channel.
So we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Woohoo!
Bye.
Ciao.